Hey guys, it's Shelby, and today I'm really excited to make today's video, not really because it's something that's like very different and exciting, but just because I had coffee this morning from a small local coffee shop and I am hyped. I do not normally drink coffee in the mornings. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering some questions that I got from you guys over on the gram, and if you actually follow me on Instagram and you submitted questions for this Q&A, you'll know that I said I was gonna brush out my bun for this video. Didn't get around to that, so we're just gonna be here together today enjoying all of the bun goodness. Okay, my friends are texting me. Amy, don't text me while I'm trying to record. Anyway, yes, these questions did come from you guys over on Instagram, so if you're not already following me over there, please go do that. I am trying to be a better Instagrammer. Admittedly, I am really bad at posting over there, but I'm trying to do better because I think there are definitely aspects of Instagram that are different than YouTube, and advice, things that I can give, experiences that I've learned, day-to-day activities on Instagram stories, and I'm just overall trying to be a better internet human. So, without further ado, let's answer your questions. Let's get the most common ones out of the way that people ask every single time I do a Q&A, and I'm gonna answer because apparently most people wanna know these things. So number one is all about my relationship. Am I gonna get married? Whatever, that sort of thing. And a lot of people ask for my coming out story and like advice on coming out and all that sort of thing. If you didn't already know, I am engaged to a woman. I actually have a whole coming out story on my channel, which was done a very long time ago. I haven't watched it in a long time. It may not be the best representation of me, but it exists and that is the story. So if you wanna know it, you can go check it out. I'll link it here and there'll be so many links in the description for this video, I am sure. But yeah, you can learn my whole coming out story there. And then people are always asking me when we're gonna get married, and we have a date picked out, and whether or not we just go to the courthouse and get married that day or we're able to have a wedding, 10/10/2020 is the date. Obviously with the state of the world, we don't know if that's gonna happen, and luckily we didn't have anything booked ahead of time. Admittedly, we're like not into the whole like big wedding thing, and we're not like super hyped about it. We're not really into planning. It's more for our families, this wedding in general. So yeah, we didn't have things booked, and so hopefully we won't lose any money. We didn't lose any money on like things that we already had booked for the wedding, but that's the date. Yes, we're getting married, and everyone asks about kids, and that's not happening anytime soon, and our ideas change about it every day, so there's that. Okay, I've recently been getting a lot of questions about my Zero Waste Transformation series, people asking me to continue the series, and of course I want to, and what's so frustrating is for a long time I couldn't figure out how to navigate it. Like, if I was going to be doing this series with anybody but my family, I knew I needed at least one other person there to help me with like videography stuff, do the actual video so I could do the transformation. And for a long time it was really hard to figure that out because I would have to coordinate with the person's house I was going to, and also coordinate with my fiance or my videographer or my assistant, and try to figure out how all of our schedules could work to go to someone else's house and do the video. And then I finally was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna find a city I wanna go to, I'm gonna book it, we're gonna go there, we're gonna make it work. And then lockdown happened, and now I can't do that. If you don't know what my Zero Waste Transformation series is, it's basically where I go into someone's house and evaluate their eco footprint and then kind of give them suggestions on how to make it better. I'll link the episodes in the description, and you can check them out. But yeah, I really, really love that series, really want to continue it, but obviously once this pandemic has maybe gotten a little bit better, I will. Not when isolation is over, because here in Texas, isolation is over, which don't get me started, okay? But yeah, I do plan to continue that series. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. This question I get pretty often as well, which is, why don't you have a Patreon? Will you start a Patreon? Do you have a Patreon? All that sort of thing. I've never talked about this. I think maybe in a live stream once I talked about this, but I am not opposed to Patreon. I think it's a great way for creators to earn money, because a lot of people don't realize, but there's a lot of work that goes into doing YouTube stuff. Not so much this video. I mean, it did take a few hours going through all the responses, and it's gonna take a few hours to film and a few hours to edit. Yeah, that's like a full day's work actually. But obviously I think creators deserve to get paid, so I'm not opposed to Patreon at all. I've just never felt like I would be able to offer enough value to ask for support. I feel like if I'm going to do something like a Patreon or the YouTube like member service thing that you can do here, I just need to be able to offer you guys something that would be more helpful than what I'm already giving. And I have some ideas for that, but the answer is just basically, I don't want to take it lightly and ask for your contributions without really having a plan. And I've just never been able to come up with a plan that I thought was good enough for me to do it. So that's why I don't have one. Maybe I'll have one in the future. I don't know. All right, this next set of questions I get often, and I'm gonna try to run through them really quickly because if they don't apply to you, I don't want to have to make you sit here and listen through them. So a lot of people have asked questions about my degree, my job, like my life experiences, my job experiences, all that sort of thing. I actually do, I do have a Draw My Life on my channel. It is years old. I probably, if I watched it back, would hate it, but it exists if you want to know a little bit more about my past. So I'll link that below if you want to go check that out. But questions about my education, let's just go through that really quickly. So I went to Texas A&M University, not super proud of that university, didn't know what I was getting into when I did it. But I did love my college and like all of my professors. I love them so much. So yeah, I did go to Texas A&M and I loved my program. I majored in environmental science. I have a bachelor's of science degree. That's what I did. And so many responses to this Q&A were asking me for advice on like career and education, if you should major in environmental science, what kind of jobs are there for that. And honestly, there's so much to it that I could make so much like content around it. But I've been getting so many emails and DMs asking for help with that sort of thing that I actually joined this platform where you can book a one-on-one Q&A session with me, depending on like, you know, if you're looking to major in XYZ, what are the career paths for it? What should I be considering? I'm not an expert in the situation, but I've obviously been through it and I have a lot of friends who also did that and went into all these different career paths. I just opened that up like a month ago for people to book one-on-one sessions with me. So if that's something that you are interested in and you want to check out, I'll have that linked below. I guess you could use it for things other than just your education. Like if you just have questions that you need very specific advice for, you could book with me there. But yeah, it's a really, really broad subject. I can't just like throw out a blanket statement on if you should go to school for sustainability or not and what careers there are and all that sort of thing. Okay, now to address the elephant in the room, and I imagine what I probably titled this video. Why do I support Amazon when they're a horrible company for the planet and for people? Okay, I have a lot of thoughts and I've never really said them because in fear of basically people hating my opinion or not understanding what I'm trying to say. But I'm gonna try to explain it to you the best I can. So I have a few reasons for not outwardly boycotting Amazon. We're gonna go through them. So number one, Amazon is a service that many people depend on to get things that they have to get. So it's very easy to make the zero waste movement seem extremely privileged. And I understand that. And I understand that depending on what approach you take to zero waste, it can be expensive and a lot of it privileged depending on what resources you have where you live that you are able to take advantage of. But as someone who grew up in a place where there were not a lot of resources for me to go and get eco-friendly things or just, you know, things in general that I needed, like my only option for a toothbrush would have been Walmart. And I understand in those situations why Amazon would honestly be a better place to go. So I never outwardly boycott Amazon because of that reason, because I know a lot of you who watch these videos depend on things like Amazon to get the best version of something that you can. I also think that when we talk about where we could buy things that typically come from larger brand stores, right? So if you think of something like, I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, what do I still buy on Amazon? Because I don't love to shop there if I don't have to. I like to support smaller brands for sure. You will always hear me support smaller brands before Amazon, but things I purchase from Amazon are things that really I only know where to get from larger retailers, right? So things like household items, like filters for our microwave. I don't know where the hell I would get that if not Amazon. Things like rechargeable batteries, all that sort of thing, etc. I think when you're looking at items like that, you essentially have to get them from a bigger box store, as far as I'm aware. And when it comes to like really big brands like Walmart, you know, convenience stores, all that sort of thing, I think Amazon is making huge strides for the planet as opposed to other places like that. Amazon, if you guys didn't know, has a $15 minimum wage, whereas a lot of the other places you can go to get those essentials don't have that. Of course, Jeff Bezos is a very, very wealthy man, which I have plenty of problems with, but he donated $10 billion to help solve climate change. The same can't be said for many other big brands. And when it comes down to what, you know, big players do I want to see at the forefront of like people who are not as well off or privileged as others, where would I like to see them shop? I do not think Amazon is anywhere near the worst choice, considering they have one of the highest minimum wages, considering their owner donates to environmental causes quite often, and considering they have a goal of being carbon neutral by 2030 and are making evident strides to get there. So I hope that answered the question that so many people are asking. I also just come from a background where I know how hard it is to get access to so many things, and maybe for some of us it doesn't seem that difficult to give up Amazon, but I understand for a lot of people it is. So I respect all of your opinions, whatever you choose to do with your personal life. I respect that, but this is just, you know, my personal evaluation of what's going on. Should I do another slightly controversial one back to back with that? Maybe not. Whatever, we're gonna do it. So a lot of people ask me why I call myself plant-based instead of vegan. And the answer really is not that deep. Sorry, we're getting a little too bright. It's very gloomy today, but. So yeah, the answer is not that critical. It's just because I'm not completely opposed to certain uses of animal products when it doesn't harm the animal. I'm not completely opposed to using honey or beeswax when it comes from a sustainable and ethically sourced place. I just think that there are ways you can use animal products without harming the animals and or the planet. And my whole reason for like having a more plant-based diet is environmental reasons anyway. I don't completely live by the ethics of veganism because of the examples I just gave. So, and I've been told by so many people in the past that doing things like purchasing secondhand leather makes me not vegan, but for that I say fine, have my vegan label. I couldn't care less about labels. So yeah, those are the reasons that I just don't identify with the word vegan. Okay, this question is super interesting, and when I saw it I was like, I'm gonna try to not think about this too much so that when I do it in the video, I don't, you know, I didn't cheat. So this question was, you have 30 seconds to convince 13-year-old Shelby to go minimalist. And this is such a good question. Okay, so I go through all these questions, right? And I'm like, oh, that's a good one, that's a good one. And sometimes you get the one that's like, oh man, that makes my brain hurt a little bit. So I actually decided I would adopt this question a little bit and make it 16-year-old Shelby, because I think 13-year-old Shelby was not as much of a consumer as 16-year-old Shelby was. And we're just gonna start the timer now. God, I honestly think that it would have been hard to convince myself of this back then, but what I would tell you, Shelby, is if you decide to go minimalist, you would find a deeper purpose in life outside of just the clothes you wear. The clothes you're wearing would not define you nearly as much. Instead, you could focus on things that would make you happy in the long run as opposed to short-term happiness. And you know how your car is completely packed with clothes, and it's so annoying to always have to dig through everything and keep everything organized, and you're always giving your friends clothes, and you're spending all of your money on all of these things that you don't need. If you didn't get so caught up in consumerism, you'd have more money, so more freedom to do what you want, and you could get out of your parents' house faster. If you weren't spending all of your money on clothes, you wouldn't have to be under their control for nearly as long if you saved your money, stop spending all of it on clothes. Did I do a good job? Oh, those were good. When I started this, I was like, I'm definitely gonna mention that my car used to be completely packed with clothes. My friends, so I was in drill team in high school, my friends, if they didn't have something to wear, if they just wore their like practice outfit to school and didn't bring clothes, they'd be like, Shelby, can I get in the back of your car and get some clothes? Because it was literally, I drove an Explorer and the back of it was just, I'm not kidding, like this tall stacked of just clothes. And it was always so annoying that that was back there and I could never use my car to haul anything else. That was always frustrating. And if you guys know anything about my past or my childhood or my family dynamic, I was very much not in a good place when I was like 16 years old, or like pretty much middle school through mid-college, in a really bad place with my home situation. And like, anyway, it would have been really good to know when I was 16 years old that if I didn't spend all of my money on clothes, I could have saved up some more money to get out from underneath the control of my situation. So yeah, maybe that would have convinced 16-year-old Shelby that being a hyper consumer, the most top peak consumer of anyone I've ever known, maybe that would have convinced me. Okay, this next question comes from Oh, I forgot. Oh, where did it go? Oh, I lost it. Well, I know what the question is, and I'll put it up on the screen. But the question is about EWG. So I used to recommend this website called Environmental Working Group. They have a website where you can go and type in a product, and they will evaluate the product by its ingredients, and then it links to scientific studies about said ingredients. So I did think it was a good resource, and I do think even now, it could still be a good jumping off point, but I've heard a lot of rumors about weird stuff going on over there, and I've heard these for years. This is not anything new, that they will offer certain brands a deal to pay them to give them a better rating. I don't know exactly how that would work, and there's no hardcore evidence that this has happened, but there's been rumors for years that this is happening, and you'll notice that I have not recommended that site in quite a while since this started, but I've been asked about it a lot more recently, so I just wanted to say there's a lot of whispers going around that that website is not as credible as they try to make themselves out to be. So definitely take it with a grain of salt, read through the studies. If something isn't linked to a study, don't just believe it. And yeah, I'm not going to be recommending that you check them out anymore. What I personally do now is if a brand doesn't have ingredients on their packaging, I'm not gonna buy from them. And if a brand does have ingredients on their site and they claim to be biodegradable, I just reach out to the brand directly and say, how do you define biodegradable? And normally they have an answer back pretty quickly. All right, so this next thing really annoys me. So it is that people on the internet are constantly asking me, or telling me rather, to donate my hair. Are you gonna cut your hair? Why have you grown your hair that long? What's the reason? Will you ever cut your hair short? Are you gonna donate your hair? And I just don't, it's really this weird thing, if you've ever noticed, like nobody else that has hair on their head, do people go around asking, are you gonna change your hair? Are you gonna get rid of your hair? Why is your hair that way? Unless you have really long hair, and then for some reason, everyone feels entitled to give you advice about it. It's a really weird thing, not just on the internet, in my personal life too. I have friends and family who will say, why is your hair so long? Why don't you cut your hair? Like, why don't you ask anybody else that? Why me? But yeah, it just seems this really weird thing that happens where people see that your hair is long and they feel the need to ask why it's long, and then I always just say, why is your hair the way it is? Because you like it that way. I like my hair this way. I don't know what else to say. So why is my hair long? Because I like it. Will I ever cut it short? Yeah, sure. I mean, I have before. The last time I cut my hair, I completely chopped it off, and I just have not cut it at all since. And will I donate my hair? Yes, absolutely. When I do decide to cut my hair, I will absolutely donate it. But yeah, I just don't know why so many people ask me those things. It's a really strange just phenomenon that happens with people with long hair. So yeah, there's that. All right, and then to spare this video from getting just too incredibly long, I got a lot of questions about sustainable brands for XYZ. So if you guys didn't know, I have sustainable brands over on my website, like guides for all of these categories. If you're looking for jewelry, underwear, socks, athletic companies, jeans, shoes, whatever it is, I have posts for all of those categories and all the brands I found in said category over on my website. So I'll link each of those below if you want to go check them out. I do plan on doing more sustainable guides for that also on my YouTube channel, but it just seems like something that is a little bit harder to put in video because almost every week I find a new brand for those lists, and if I put them all in a video, I can't edit the video when I find new brands. But if I leave it over on my website, every time I find a new brand, I can update it so that everyone can know about that brand as well. So yes, if you've never been over to my website, go check it out. I'm not super proud of it. I was gonna say I'm super proud of it, but I really think that I've put a lot of work into it, and I'm definitely not the best writer or like organizer of these things, but I try my best to be helpful, and that's the only goal of the website. So alrighty guys, so I hope this was interesting for you, or you learned something new. It's always my goal to hopefully give you a new perspective or to teach you something new, or since you had these questions, you know, answer them. Hope it wasn't too boring with me just sitting here, and yeah, if you don't already follow me over on Instagram, please make sure you do that. I'm trying to be a better Instagrammer, and thank you so much for being here. Remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye guys.